Good morning. It's BS with Becca, and it's not what you're thinking. Today, BS is be steady. And the reason I want to say this, well, first, I just want to start actually by telling you a story. And so it's story time. I should have background music for a story. So just imagine I'm telling you a little story. There once was a man who, on every Friday morning, he would have coffee with his best friends. Oh, Carolina Wren. You can tell because they're saying da 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 da. It's a little tiny bird for that. Anyway, apparently, she wants to tell you a story. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to have, oh, that's my music, actually. I said I wanted music, storytime music. That's my music. Thank you, Carolina Wren. So there was a man who had coffee every Friday morning with his friends. And they were kind of an older group of guys, middle-aged guys, so they all had children. And so one day he came in and he told all the guys, "Oh my gosh, I've lost my horse. One of my sons left the barn door open and it's gone." And all his friends are like, "Oh, you poor thing, that's such bad luck. What are you going to do without your horse? You so much depended on that horse for everything." And the guy actually was kind of not that worried about it. He said, "We'll see. Who knows?" And so his friends were kind of surprised that he was that kind of indifferent to having lost his horse, because they thought he'd be really upset, but he was kind of just the same. So the next week, they gather back together again, and they're all like, "Well, what happened with the horse?" And he said, "Well, once again, my sons left the barn door open, and we'd actually searched for the horse all over the place and could never find it. But yeah, we left the barn door open again. And when I went in a couple of mornings ago, there were now 2 horses in the barn. The other one brought back a wild one, and now I have 2 horses." And his friends are all like, "You are so lucky. Who else loses a horse and then gets 2 in exchange, gets that one back plus a new one? That is so lucky." And he goes, "Well, we'll see." And so then the next week, he comes back, they all gather, and it goes around, and they're reporting to each other how their week has been. And so he says to them, they're like, "Well, how are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, that wild horse I told you, my son was trying to ride it, trying to tame it, and it threw him and he fell off and broke his leg." And they're like, "Oh no, that's so terrible. We're so sorry. You must be just feeling so bad about having your son break his leg." And he goes, "Well, we'll see." And the next week they all gather and they're like, "How's your son?" And he said, "Well, the men from the army came through the draft. They were going to draft any able-bodied man between the ages of 18 and 35 to fight in their war. And they saw that my son had a broken leg, so they didn't take him into the war." And so I'm telling this story. I love that story, first of all, because I think it reminds us all, and what my theme is for today, be steady, that really life should not be about whether you have good things happen to you or bad things happen to you, but indeed it's your reaction to those things happening. And I just think of this over and over again in my own life, that when really bad things happen to me and I get them and it really gets me down. And I think we can all kind of understand that we shouldn't overreact to the bad things that happen to us, because we have to steel ourselves. We have to be steady and realize we're going to get past this, just like we are going to get past what's happening now. But we also have to remember that when great things happen to us, we also shouldn't get too excited, like this man in the story, that in fact, one day, we don't know whether that's actually something we see in the moment is fantastic. Like, I think about the times I've fallen in love and just gotten way head over heels in love, and then found out the guy wasn't all I thought he was. Whoops. And so in other words, we need to learn to be steady in the midst of it now. And I can also say, from my experience with disaster relief, I actually went and worked after the tsunami in 2004. 230,000 people died. And what I learned from that is the amazing resiliency of the human spirit. People are really able to come back. And the most important thing to help them in coming back after even a horrible disaster like that, was to, as soon as possible, help them to get back into a regular routine, to return to quote unquote normality. So I would encourage you in these very unusual times to try as much as possible to give yourself routines, even if they're new ones. You can't do the old ones before. Set up a normal thing. Every single morning you do this, this, and this. And then every evening, this, and this. And to give yourself some quote unquote normality. It may have to be a new normal, but that really will help you be steady in these very uncertain times. And just one more quick thing that's just so fascinating about the human person psychology. They did a study where they compared people who'd been in horrible accidents and become quadriplegics. And they compared them to people who'd won the lottery. And of course, right after either of those events, the quadriplegics were devastated and thought their life was over. The lottery winners were so excited and thought that now their life was going to be easy street. They were so happy. But they studied the same group a year later, and it turns out they had the same level of life satisfaction. That comes back to what I said before, that all human beings are able to come back, whether something really horrible happens to you or something supposedly really great, like winning the lottery, that in fact, within a year, you will have come back to sort of a standard happiness, not incredible happiness, but also not incredible sadness. And so it's, in a weird way, it's hope for all of us that we can survive this. We are going to get through it. So be steady. That's my BS for today, to remind you, give yourself some routines and be steady. I'm here for you, coming to you every day, so this can be part of your routine, but think of other ways too, and help other people also to have routines in their lives. So we're all going to get through this together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on BS with Becca.